Asha, I would like to thank the Unity Mission Trust, firstly, for having me at today's session. Mr. Bertul and Ms. Shamala have been very encouraging whenever I put up a story on Facebook there. I get a lot of good responses from both of them. So thank you very much for the encouragement given. When I was looking at the panel of speakers today, I actually went blank for a second because there are so many female game changers in so many sectors, and me being a journalist, I was wondering what I should probably say. But then there are certain things that I would like to share because when someone say that you're a journalist, you are sometimes people tend to think that it's not a serious job and it's just picking bits and pieces from the internet or something, and it's something like a copy pasting job, but actually it's not. I have been with the Daily Mirror for 8 years now, and which is a relatively smaller time when compared to seniors in the field. But as a self-taught journalist, because I did psychology for my degree, but I ended up becoming a journalist. So like several other speakers here, you don't really get to, sometimes you don't get to further your career in the studies, with the studies that you do. But I like at the beginning I didn't have any clue about journalism, but as I moved forward, I developed a liking towards it because I got to work with people at the grassroots level, and I got to understand the hardships that they were going through and then bring it out to a wide audience. But having said that, like in every other profession, journalism also, being a journalist also has a daily set of goals. From, say, if you want to, yes, deadlines is the biggest biggest challenge we face, being a daily paper. So everything from making those necessary calls to making sure that you're attending an event on time, because punctuality matters, and journalists are sometimes labeled as coming late for events. So there are issues like that. So we have to, if we are to make a change in the profession, then we have to do that and show it. So it's sometimes it's very challenging to because you get 2-3 events during a single day, and then you have to schedule your time between writing the stories and then attending events. So it's actually a daily challenge, but once you get into the profession, it's very interesting. And because every day you meet someone new, you gather new knowledge, and the entire process from gathering background information to printing the story, it's you have to be with it. So and the main goal of the journalist should always be to inform the public. So sometimes they have to go out of their way to find information, because sometimes even with we have things like the Right to Information Act, etc. But when you try to access information from government authorities, sometimes it is a challenge. So even with those challenges, if you always have that goal in mind, that you need this figure, you need this statistic, and it has to come out on paper, then you in one way or the other you can actually find it. And then on the other hand, when someone calls you a journalist, they always say, you're going after issues. If there are no issues, there won't be journalists. So there is a notion like that. But we are now trying to focus on solutions-based journalism, where we try to look out for experts in relevant fields and try to get their input into our stories. Say if it's something about the microfinance issue that is affecting a lot of women in areas like Polonnaruwa, then we get we get economists and people who know about microfinancing, and then economic lawyers who are experts in economics, who can talk about regulating these companies. So and like that. So if we can, while showing what the issue is, if we can also present the solutions, I think that is a more positive outlook on journalism as we move forward. Because when we look at a newspaper or when we watch the news, it's everything is about a crime or violence, and that actually has discouraged people from actually following news. So we as journalists should know to um, bridge between issues and as well as solutions. Otherwise, it will be a one-sided way of reporting. Um, so another question I was asked to address was how a woman can handle a tough and challenging career like investigative journalism. Investigative journalism may look tough from when you talk about it, but uh, as in every other profession, if you have the passion to do it, it is actually less challenging. Because if you take a challenge as a challenge, then it will always be a challenge. But if you love what you're doing, those challenges can be overcome. So some of the challenges I have come across as when doing an investigative piece is all about sticking to a deadline while trying to access all the information I need within that time period. Usually, if we file an RTI to any of the government authorities, they are bound to give us the information within 14 days. But sometimes we don't get it within those 14 days. And then sometimes we always look for trending issues, we look for current affairs. So that means and we are always in a competition with another paper, or we are always in competition with social media and with broadcast media. So when it comes to a print newspaper, we have to always keep updating a story. And so it's like an adventure. Writing an article is like an adventure. And if you are an adventure lover, and if you have the passion to dig in for new information and disseminate that information to the public, then journalism is the career for you. Having said that, um, so so when I first joined the Daily Mirror, my parents didn't have a clue about what I was getting myself into. Neither did I. And then eventually, when I started coming home late, and when I was away on assignments for 2-3 days, they did hit their panic buttons for some time, but now it has gotten very much normalized. So if you are someone who sticks to your breakfast, lunch, and dinner times, and if you are someone who thinks that journalism is a 9 to 5 job, it is not. So you don't know when you will get to eat, you don't know when you will get to go home. The latest time I have gone home was 1 a.m. in the morning, which is like a record, a personal record for me. But then after some time, I think if you are married, I'm not married, so I don't know how, but if your partner is understanding, they will, and if they see that passion in you, then they will be supportive. The other thing is having a very good support system with the family, desk heads, editors, and even the readership, because we always look at constructive criticism, and we want to it's a learning experience every single day. So we like to look at what others have to say, what the readers have to say. If we have missed an angle, then they would know, then we would develop on that. So it's a collective effort at the end of the day. So team spirit, teamwork is absolutely necessary when any of those papers come out on print the next day. It's not just one person's job, but it's a result of team spirit. So I would like to extend my gratitude and my respect to everybody who has been there right throughout, and it's for them, it's more like so for some it's an addiction, but I don't say it's not a dangerous addiction, because once you get into journalism, and if you like it, you keep the constant checking for news, and the constant that thrill of writing a new story. All that is like you enjoy that addiction. So in my parting remarks, I would like to say that if there's anybody who wants to be an aspiring journalist, uh, you do have a lot of opportunities now. But I would always advise to start with print media journalism, because I don't really know, because there are no proper guidelines or proper a code of ethics, I would say, for social media journalism. So if you are to improve yourself as a writer, as a respected, as a credible journalist, then I would say to start with print media journalism. I know many of the youngsters would think it's old school, and many are now, they would scroll down the news feed and get the latest news, but print media journalism is the first step towards becoming a professional journalist. Because just because I'm talking in my capacity as a print media journalist, but if it was a TV journalist or radio presenter, they may have other ideas, but this is solely in my capacity. So writing, I would say, is an advantage, but if you have the passion to look for new knowledge, look for something new, and that passion for you, that you have, if you have a passion to disseminate that information to a wider audience, then it's not only a lecturer or a teacher who can do it. A writer, a journalist can also do it. So if you have all those qualities in you, then you're most welcome to be a journalist. So thank you very much for the time given.